Why all countries around the world are in debt, even rich and poor country. Sometimes we're wondering and ask ourselves why that happened. So to have a good and reliable response to this question, let's break down different questions so that we can understand that. Number one, why countries are in debt. Number two, why country they cannot just printing money because they have central bank or they have machine to print money that they need. The third question is to understand, are debt bad or good for the economy of the country? The fourth question is to understand where country can get debt. And the fifth question is to understand, is there any country in the world that is debt free? So let's get in deep and understand this question and to understand why all countries maybe in the world are getting in debt. The first key question is to wondering why governments are in debt. Number one is very important to understand the public budget. The public budget is the financial plan that the government has in order to finance all public services or investment in the economy or in the country during the year. And that includes two main things. Number one, income, public income, and number two, expenses. So it happens sometimes the income is less than expenses. So the government is in the situation to have two options. Number one is carrying expenses or to raise taxes in order to be in the balance. So if the government decide, for example, to carry expenses, then the country will be in the situation to have less education, less healthcare, less investment, and that will make people in very bad situation. Number two is to raise taxes. When the taxes are raising, then the cost of living will raise too, and the companies or businesses will be hurting, and that will lead sometime to inflation. So the government prefer to go to the financial market and get the money that we call debt. Why the government cannot just printing money instead of going and borrowing money on the market? So the main reason of this is because this can lead to hyperinflation. The hyperinflation means the skyrocketing of the prices on the market. So this can also lead to the crashing of the economy. The perfect example of this is Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe, the prices of food go up every day.
Is this happening because of inflation?
In the early 2000s, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe increased the money supply, causing hyperinflation. Right now, one United States dollar is worth about 1 trillion Zimbabwe dollars.
I have 10 US dollars I earned selling corn dogs. Take it, then you'll be rich.
That won't get me very far when a loaf of bread costs 5 trillion.
It'd better taste amazing.
The government knows it sounds like a lot. That's why they keep printing it as a quick fix, but it only makes things worse in the long run.
Inflation hurts a nation.
By the time the new printed money gets to the poor population, the money can hardly pay for anything.
Would you take $3 trillion? It's the only cash I have.
We have to get back to the carnival and stop Corinne from printing tickets before it ruins everything like it has here. No offense.
Skinny jeans are a thing now.
For Zimbabwe, because they lost the trust on the financial market, then they started just printing money, and that devaluated their currency. And that was a very bad situation in the Zimbabwe economy. The country debt's good or bad? I think it depends how wisely the government using its debt. So the main reason why the government taking debt is to cover the budget deficit. And this, if is using to invest in growth, in the economical growth, then this can be a good thing. Why? Because the government can lend money to build school, to build hospital, to build road, to build companies, to invest in the economy, and this can can lead to the economic growth, and then the government will have more money in taxes. And when the government has more money in taxes, can have more money to cover the future deficit and also to pay back the debt that the government took on the market. The second reason can be to finance crises, like for example, pandemic, like for example, disasters, or other emergency situation in the country or the world, for example. So when all these situations are resolved, this can help the economy to be better, to get in growth, and then to have more in taxes, and then to pay back the debt, or for example, to finance more projects in the future. Another main reason why the government can borrow money is because the government can be in the plan of reducing or tackle the inflation on the market. And how that happens is when the government need money, the government issuing bond on the country market. That means people, banks, and companies can buy those bonds. So that means the government take out money from the market. And this can be in the situation where the inflation is really high. And this can help to have like the stabilize of the currency on the market, and also can help to influence the interest rate. So the second reason can be when the inflation is low, the government can also issuing bond so that the government can have money, and by having money can be injected into the investment or the growth investment in the market by, for example, building road, building school, building hospital, or financing security. And this creates more job, create more money, and that help people to stimulate the demand on the market. The government can borrow money from many sources. For example, from the domestic lenders. Domestic lenders are those who can borrow money from the country. Like individuals, like citizens, can buy bond from the government to get pay back that money with interest. Commercial bank in the country can do that, like the Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citibank, or companies, or Amazon, for example, or Microsoft or Apple can buy some government bond to get pay back, because they have a lot of trust from the government to get pay back that money with the interest. Foreigners can also lend money to the government. So the US government or Congolese government can decide to issuing bond outside of the country. Other government can buy it. For example, the Germany or the China or Japan or Morocco can buy US bond or Congolese bond in order to finance the Congolese need, or individuals or citizens from other countries can also buy US bonds. Or for example, other companies can do the same thing, can buy it. TikTok, for example, is a Chinese company, but they can buy US bonds. International financial institutions like World Bank, for example, or International Monetary Fund. So those institutions are very good for undeveloped countries.
The World Bank is a global financial institution that provides loans and grants to developing countries for various purposes such as infrastructure development and poverty reduction. It is owned and funded by its member countries, and its primary objective is to fight poverty and promote shared prosperity around the world. The World Bank's operations are divided into two main arms: the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, and the International Development Association, IDA. The IBRD focuses on middle-income and credit-worthy countries, while the IDA provides assistance to the world's poorest countries. The World Bank is often criticized for its policies and practices, including its conditions for loans and the impact of its projects on the environment and local communities.
From its own central bank, that we call debt monetization. So that's sometimes it happens, the government produce bond and sell those bonds to their son. The same situation, because the central bank will be in the situation to produce more money, and that can lead to inflation. That's why many countries in Europe, in America, they don't use that anymore. So instead of doing that, the central bank can go to the commercial bank, buy those government bonds, so that the commercial bond can have a lot of money, enough money to give to people debt, like car loan, like mortgages, like financing investment in the economy, and that can lead to create more job, to create more product. Is that good or bad? I think it depends for which reason the government borrow money from the market. So if the government borrow money to invest to boost the economy, that can be a good thing. Why? Because when the government issuing bonds, get money, and with that money the government invests into the education, for example, it investing into the human capital, or for example in healthcare, building hospital or equipment, or for example investing in the security of the country, in military and police investigation, and this can make the country more safe, and that can stimulate foreigners investors, even internal investors, to invest into the country that is safe, and this can be a good thing for the economy to get into a growth track. And when the economy is going up, that means the government has more in terms of taxes, income taxes, revenue taxes, and this can help the government to pay back the past debt, and sometime to use the balance to reinvest again into the economy, and that will be a very good thing, because that will create jobs, will give people more income and more investment into the economy. But if the government is not responsible, it use money in corruption, for example, there is corruption, or the government is taking that money to defalcate, for example, the public fund, that will reduce the debt rating of the country, and that the country will lose the trust from the lenders from outside and inside, and that will make the country worse and worse again. So that's why it's very important to understand, to know why we are lending money, why we are borrowing money, in order to help the economy to move forward, and not just for our own interest or for bad reason.